Visit licensureexams.com and try our samples completely free of charge.
Hi there, my superstar therapist. Buckle up because we've got an awesome podcast for you today. I'm Linton, and this with me is this ever so awesome Stacy.
Hi, Linton. How's the old noggin holding up these days?
Hey, watch it. Well, I'm doing pretty good. I'm just trying to remember everything that's been happening lately. I'm always wondering how students are going to remember all the stuff they need to pass the exam.
Sounds like you're having an issue with Ebbinghaus's forgetting curve.
Hey, that's a 50-cent word there, Stacy. What's that all about?
Well, hold on to your horses, buddy. Before we dive into that, let's talk about that major exam looming around the corner, looming in the shadows.
Right.
So, yes, the exam is known to be a complex and comprehensive test that measures a range of knowledge and skills that you probably haven't touched since grad school. So one way to ensure that you remember all the necessary information is through a method called spaced repetition. And no, before you ask, I'm not making this up. This is real.
You're making this up.
It totally sounds fake. Okay, so spaced repetition. This is a study method that is rooted in cognitive science, and it's about reviewing information at intervals that increase each time the information is successfully recalled. And we're going to go through how this actually works, but that's the gist.
Okay. All right.
So this strategy leverages our brain's natural memory process and optimizes the consolidation and recall of information. It's essentially learning, forgetting a bit, then relearning, and doing that back and forth process actually reinforces memory traces. It's pretty cool. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
And it's a guaranteed way to make sure that your brain grabs onto the information and keeps it locked in tight.
Well, that sounds like a plan. How does spaced repetition work as a study tool, though?
Okay, well, it's based on the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, which states that you quickly forget information unless you deliberately practice recalling and reinforcing it.
You're not making this up.
I promise I'm not. You can go Google it. Yep.
All right.
It's your brain's naughty little habit of trying to ditch information, but if you keep bringing it back and back, it'll stick around for the long haul.
I like that. I think, Stacy, you just gave me an out when I can't remember something. Like yesterday.
Good.
For the life of me, I couldn't remember the word scallops. So there I am at Publix at the seafood place, and the guy's just sitting there waiting for me to take my order, but I can't remember the word scallops, So I'm trying to remember it, so I go through every letter of the alphabet. Does it begin with A? No. Does it begin with B? No.
I do that too.
It was ridiculous. And if I had known about this technique, I could use it as scapegoat, so I didn't look like such an idiot. I could have played that card and said, "Oh, it's the Ebbinghaus effect."
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
I love to see the look on his face when you say that.
Really. And at least I looked like I was eccentric rather than forgetful,
Well, you think that's bad. The other day, well, okay, never mind. Unless we turn this into a memory competition, see who can forget the most. We'll reel ourselves back in a little bit.
Okay.
So it's not as hard as it sounds to use spaced repetition. It sounds all science-y and there's big words, but it is actually pretty easy to incorporate into your study routine. And there are a few ways that you can use this concept of reviewing material at various intervals. So one example is by using flashcards, which I'm sure you know about. It's the old index card. You write one thing on the one side and then the answer on the back side. So imagine flashcards are like your brain's snack. I don't know, what's like a tasty snack, Linton?
Little Debbie's or moon pies, okay?
I think I've seen them at that specialty shop that sells old candies.
Okay.
So these flashcards. So the ones that you're going to push them back to the end of the stack and save them for later.
Okay.
The ones that trip you up, that you're having trouble remembering, you're going to put those in the middle so that you're going to see them over and over again. So it's like putting your favorite snacks, those box of Debbie cakes or moon pies or whatever, at the front of the cupboard. Okay,
so it's sort of like saying to your brain, gotcha. You're going to remember this whether you like it or not. So let me make sure I have this clarified. The idea is that the card that you easily know the answer to is going to the back, so it comes up less frequently. And the flashcard that you didn't know the answer to is going to come up quickly again by putting it in the middle of the deck. And it gives you a chance to refamiliarize yourself with it over and over and over again, right?
Exactly. Yep, you got it. Another way to use spaced repetition is to break up your study session into blocks of time with breaks in between. And you can play around with this idea and space your breaks out further and further, or for longer periods of time.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Remember how long I've done it. I just say, computer, set the alarm for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, starting now.
Oh, what are you on, a spaceship, Linton?
No, it's my, it's on my Alexa, but I renamed it. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then I don't have to remember it. It automatically tells me, and I better tell it to stop. Computer, stop the timer. Okay, we'll see.
Cross your fingers.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, that's a pretty cool gadget you got there.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that technique is a little bit like systematic desensitization, right?
Yeah, that one's used to treat phobias.
Yeah, I know. Systematic desensitization works primarily by gradually exposing clients to the source of their fears and allowing them to become comfortable with it over time. So you're saying that spaced repetition is sort of like that, but for learning information rather than dealing with fears. The more you review and practice recalling information, the better your chances are at mastering it, right?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good analogy or metaphor, whatever that's called. That it is a lot like systematic desensitization. Yeah.
Right.
So you're challenging your brain to recall the information just at that point where you're about to forget it. And kind of doing this back and forth of remembering, forgetting, remembering is working on strengthening your memory.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I know when you do that, it's sort of like really when it's right there at the tip of your brain and you're almost remembering the word scallops, but you can't. It's sort of frustrating, isn't it? But if you just sort of let it go, then it seems to come to you. So it's like a major workout for your brain. What's happening is that you're reinforcing the pathways in your brain that are associated with the knowledge and also helping you to avoid the pitfalls of having the cram where the information doesn't get moved from short-term to long-term memory.
Yeah, you've nailed it, Linton. So cramming might help you for a quick quiz the next day. I mean, cramming's not all bad, right? But when we're talking about an exam that covers a ton of categories of a lot of unrelated information, long-term memory retention is going to be crucial if you want to pass the exam.
Yeah, so it's a really valuable tool that you got to use when you're preparing for your exam. And it's helpful for ongoing professional development after you actually obtained your license.
Yeah.
Those CEUs that you always have to get.
Oh, yes. So this is another one of those BOGOs, a buy one, get one. You're doing it for your licensure exam and then even after you get your license. So,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, Linton. Lifelong learning is key in this field. And spaced repetition can be a significant ally in that journey. It helps all of us to continuously update our knowledge and skills.
Spaced repetition. Well, that about wraps it up for today's episode. Thanks for enlightening us on spaced repetition, Stacy. And until next time, remember,
it's in there.
It's in there.